Whenever we're in victim, we tend to be fairly committed to being in that victim until we get awareness on it and choose otherwise. And it can be really satisfying. I still remember the first time I really, really saw my victim was in 2014. Had recently moved from India to New York. I was working with a coach and I was trying to write this long form sales copy for a coaching offer. And whenever I sat down to write it, these feelings of like, well, who am I? Like, I'm still struggling with self-worth issues. How can I coach anybody? I have nothing to offer. I'm no good, la, 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 like all that stuff. And then I just sit there and like in my own misery and I wouldn't be able to write anything at all. And then I'd go back home and next day I'd go out to the coffee shop and I'd sit down to write this thing and I'd the same damn thing over again. So talking to him a few days later, he's like, what are you getting out of doing this? What's the positive payoff for you of going down this path? And I'm like, well, I'm not doing it to myself. I don't like, it comes, it's because my parents didn't love me. It's because like all these different things. And he's like, yeah, no, I think you're getting something out of this. Like, what could it be? And I just could not see it. I could not see it. It's a question that I love asking people, and usually you just get some like left brain mental chatter, blah, 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 blah. Like most people, it's really hard for them to go there where they psychologically connect with that right part of their brain where they can really see, oh, fuck, I'm doing this for this payoff. It makes me feel what, right? And so he was like, I think what you get out of it is you get to not take responsibility for what you want. You get to cop out of taking responsibility for what you actually do here. And I was like, at first I fought him. I was like, I don't see that. I understand what you're saying, blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, okay, what if he's right? What if he's right? And so I forget if it was on the call or happened like in the hours or days after, but I remember that feeling of swallowing the big pill, of recognizing that all of these years, all of these fucking years, like 40 years at that time, 40 years I had spent, not 40, I was 40 years old, but I didn't start when I was 0. So let's say like 30 years maybe, 25 years at least. I'd spent being unhappy and unsuccessful to prove that my parents did me wrong, right? I'm unhappy and unsuccessful because my parents didn't blah, 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 right? Didn't see me, love me, treat me, give me the right opportunity. They did fucking amazing, by the way. Like when I think back, they just fucking incredible. Anyway, but I had this story in my head and, I couldn't be happy and successful because then like, what could I pin on them, right? Like I would have nothing to blame them for. So I needed to keep myself really unhappy and really unsuccessful in order to keep blaming my parents. And it was really a big freaking pill to swallow that all of this misery that I've created for myself for so many years was all my doing, and I could have stopped it anytime I wanted to. But I was like, okay, there are only two ways here, right? Either I just stay in my misery or I swallow this damn pill and I move on. And I swallowed the pill.